Hello and welcome back to the Pride of All Europe podcast brought to you by All for United. Got a brilliant panel of guests here. So, boys, how you doing?
All good, thanks.
Pretty good.
Good stuff. Exciting times. Semi-finals are here, and England are actually part of them. Who'd have thought it? Who would have thought it? But we've got a game to review before the England game. Unfortunately, obviously, sort of a clash of the Titans in Italy versus Spain. It was the final in 2012, actually, wasn't it? Funnily enough. So yeah, two massive teams, two teams in good form as well. Potentially England's final opposition, providing we get there. So Stu, going into the game, what are you expecting?
Do you know, at the start of the Euros, I was asked about Spain and I was kind of like, whoa, I didn't really know what to say about them. Didn't recognise half of their squad. Didn't think that they'd score enough goals because, let's face it, when Morata's up top, it's like having Werner up top, isn't it, for you? He needs about 20 chances to stick one or two in the back of the net. But they've scored quite a few goals, really. And their overall play has actually quite surprised me. I know they've made hard work of the last couple of games. But, for example, Pedri seems to be a bit of a revelation. He seems to be a bit of a player, he does. I'd never really heard of him or ever seen him until these championships. He's just come alive, really. I thought Busquets was probably a bit too old for this tournament, but I know he's made one or two ricks, but when he's played, he's been solid. Jordi Alba's been solid. I thought he perhaps made a bit of a rick, Enrique, by bringing Rodri on too late in the last match. I don't particularly like Rodri. He fits into the poser category for me, but I think he was a big loss for them as it happens. And so I think tonight's going to be a tighter game than most people would predict, or certainly would have predicted right at the beginning of the tournament. Most people will probably put their money on Italy. Conventional wisdom would suggest Italy's just got too much for Spain. But I actually, I think it'll go to extra time and Spain might sneak it.
I'm certainly hoping that that's the case. I'm just looking for a good game, really. But Neil, I'll come to you. Obviously, we've been on quite a lot of these Euro shows together now, and Italy is something that gets thrown up quite a lot because they're having a brilliant tournament. Now, the thing was with Italy that a lot of people were saying they hadn't really played a top team yet, had they? But they've beaten the world number one in Belgium in the quarterfinals. Sorry, so are we finally seeing them as the favourites of this tournament now?
Well, I don't believe they're the favourites. I actually believe we're the favourites. As I don't know, people who watched this channel before, I backed Italy 3 months ago to get to the final. So I'm quite comfortable. I think Italy will beat. I think if Italy score first, I think they could run away. They could run away with this game tonight because of just the way they play. I think in some respects, Spain have sort of flattered to deceive. I don't think the Spanish people are expecting too much from the Spanish team themselves. So maybe there's no pressure on the Spanish squad, and they might be able to play a bit free. But I just don't see. Sorry about that. I just don't see Spain getting anything out of Italy. Sorry, I need to take this.
Fair enough. Right, that's throwing me off a little bit. That was. We'll come back to Spain, Henry, when we talk about them. Obviously, Stu mentioned great fun. Stu mentioned earlier about how Busquets coming back into the team Busquets has had a good tournament. Sorry, he obviously missed the first couple of games because he had COVID and he was having to isolate. Even though he's the wrong side of 30 now, and the Barcelona haven't been at their very best. Are we seeing this tournament just how good Sergio Busquets still is? Because I think he's completely changed the Spain team when he's come back into it.
He's been good, but I don't know. This Spain side worries me defensively, especially, and if you put pressure on them, they seem to crumble. Croatia did it towards the end of the game that they had, and they seem to crumble. So, I'm not going to sit here and say Spain are fantastic, and personally, Busquets is good, but you can tell by the pace of the game that he's aging a little bit, just by he's not moving across the pitch as quickly as he normally would. So, I think Enrique probably didn't particularly want to use him, but he felt like he had to because they were playing so poorly at one stage. So, he's a reasonable player, but there's talk of him going to the MLS this year or next year, and I think that for him would probably be the right call because you can see the pace of the game is catching up with him.
I think that's a fair point. I don't think they've ever really been. He's never really been a quick player, but I just think his ability allows him to not need to keep up with the game. I think his ability to find space and lose a man with his movement is, just second to none. I don't think it's not like anything we've really seen before in the game.
Neil will remember Jan Molby. Now, Jan Molby was an absolute master of the centre circle, wasn't he, Neil? An absolute master. He would walk everywhere in a game and have the same influence as somebody who ran 500 miles in a game.
He was a bit of a fat, scarce bastard, so he had to walk, didn't he, really?
And Busquets is very, very similar. He's adapted his game to be that type of player.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's as good as Molby because, unfortunately, Molby was, sometimes in a class of his own, wasn't he, to be fair. But Busquets has got that ability and he uses that same style of play for Spain. When you go back to Italy and you look at their two centre halves, they must be about 400 combined age. But what they've got is that experience, that knowledge, that guile, that know-how to get teams, to get Italy through a game. And the likes of Busquets has got people in and around him who can influence Spain's attack. They're not as good as Italy. You're absolutely right, Henry. Spot on. I do agree with you, mate. They're not as good as Italy. But you're coming into a semi-final and you've got to be in that changing room and you've got to believe that when you cross that white line, when the game's over, you're coming in as finalists. You've got to believe that. Now, Neil's played semi-pro in his day, so he will know. He would have got up against teams in the FA Cup that were there to be, we're going to lose because they're 2-3 leagues ahead of us. It doesn't work that way sometimes in football. Once you get that collective spirit and you get that determination that I ain't fucking getting beat today, it can really carry you. And I think Spain have got to go with that mentality because you guys are right. All of you are right. Italy will steamroll them if they don't. And you can't go into a semi-final unless you're 100% focused. And I think Busquets will be really, really important today to nullify the Verratti kind of danger that they've got in there. And also, you get the what's his name? He got that one in Insigne. He'll come deep as well, wanting to get the ball. So Busquets has got to be in there, messing around and try and get break up the place. So that's the only reason why I would say Busquets has maybe got a chance of putting an influence.
I think they're missing the old heads still. I think Busquets isn't enough. I just don't see it. Bonucci and Chiellini in the Italy side. I looked at Pau Torres, who we've been linked with for a transfer. He's been abysmal this tournament. He looks terrified. He looks terrified whenever anyone runs at him. He looks absolutely petrified. So I'm looking at that side and I'm thinking, the keeper's dodgy. Unai Simon, he's a reasonable keeper. Good enough to be in the Spanish league, but he's dodgy. He's another Kepa I'm looking at, and I'm thinking this guy is a bag of nerves. Just looking at him, and you got Morata who can't finish, Gerard Moreno who has had stage fright whenever he's played. He's not scoring as many as he did in the season. So, but Italy have got something in terms of the manager who's won. I know Enrique has won everything as well, but Mancini instills that it's almost like a working class side. I look at that and I don't think there's no stars. There's no fantastic players, but they hound you And I think that Spain will come undone if they knock the ball around nonchalantly like they have in the tournament so far against Croatia. They will get absolutely torn to shreds.
No, I agree with that, and I think you'll see a different style of play from Spain tonight because they'll have to. And you're absolutely right. One thing I am quite pleased that you have said, and me and Neil have brought this up on many occasions, teams do require experience and old heads as a mix and match in there. You ask a lot of the, not you, James, because you understand football, but you ask a lot of kids, the FIFA generation, they don't understand experience. They don't understand know-how, guile, the ability to go down at the right time for a free kick, the ability to just disrupt somebody's overall flow of the game. And so you're right about that. They are missing the old heads. But they've all gone, haven't they? Xavi and Iniesta, they're playing out in fucking Saudi Arabia and is it Japan and places?
Not taking Ramos would be one of the biggest mistakes.
Massive mistake.
Ever made. And I don't mean for the starting lineup, just for the squad. Because imagine having that in the dressing room before you go into one of the biggest games in your career, and you've got a guy there who's won absolutely everything, who's standing in front of you saying, "You can do this."
I made a point, Henry, on a show a couple of nights ago. Everybody's raving about Varane, etc., etc., etc. And I made a point really about nobody really knows just how good he is. And the reason for that, he spent most of his career alongside Ramos and Pepe. And what you've just said is absolutely correct. When you look at Ramos, a couple of years ago when they faced Liverpool in the Champions League final, okay, you can imagine Zidane's team talk, look, these are the danger players, we've got to get Salah. Ramos is the type of player that would say, don't worry about that gaffer, leave him to me. The end. And what happened? 15 minutes into the game, what happened?
Yeah.
Salah's gone. That's what Spain needs. You're absolutely right. And this is why, and I don't want to go into Manchester United and Varane, so I'm not going to, but that's why I just raised an eyebrow. How do we really know how good Varane is? And I think it's the same with Laporte and Pau Torres. Laporte looked decent at City, and Pau Torres has looked okay, hasn't he, at Villarreal? But together, they're left wanting.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
There's a reason why Bonucci and Chiellini are still playing the level they are in their careers.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Chiellini is, God, he's ridiculous for his age. He's ridiculous. Like you're not going to get players like that come around very often. That they're not journeymen towards the end of their career. They're still playing at the highest level because they've got such a good footballing brain. Yeah,
and that's why when you look at centre halves today, and Neil will agree with me on this because again we've spoken about it. If you look at Chiellini, he's an ugly fucker, and there's a reason for it. He's a solid, proper get stuck in centre half. Centre halves today, they're all pretty boys. They're all trained, aren't they? Fucking suntans, fucking Brill cream, whatever. You don't need that with a centre half. So. Yeah, but you make an interesting point, Henry, and I just thought it just followed in quite nicely. Sorry, James.
James, should they get it? Should they get a room, James?
Yeah, maybe. We had a few comments.
Coming on this now, Neil. Come on.
It's a bit, but it's unusual me having to wait for someone to stop talking because normally it's me doing all the bloody talking.
Well, listen, you raised a good point there, you two, and I'll leave this question sort of open to the three of you. So whoever wants to answer it, sort of jump in. Obviously, the talk of the tournament coming in with the Spain team, especially, was that the ex-Barcelona manager had named no Real Madrid players in the team, despite obviously Madrid coming close second in La Liga and obviously making it to the semi-finals of the Champions League. You're leaving players out like Sergio Ramos, Lucas Vazquez had an incredible season for Real Madrid. He didn't even get a look in. Got Nacho Fernandez at centre back as well, who also had a decent season, didn't get a look in. So, do you think this was sort of an ulterior motive from the manager, obviously being ex-Barcelona, and do you think it's sort of coming back to bite them now? I'll just sort of leave that out there.
No. Enrique did play for Madrid as well, by the way.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he's one of the few. I think he played for Madrid before he played for Barca.
Yeah, because Figo was the other way round, wasn't he?
Yeah, Figo was the other way.
Yeah.
I don't believe it was because I don't think that Madrid team was any good. I know they were close in this. I know they were close in the Spanish Spanish league, but the sort of the three of them at the end just sort of fell towards the end of the season. And you look at the, I mean, it does seem a bit bizarre. Isn't there 2 Brighton players in the squad from Spain, in the Spain squad, and no Real Madrid players? It does seem a bit bizarre, but Ramos hardly kicked a ball last year, and I think, you know why he didn't. I think it's leaking out now why he didn't want to take him, because he was worried about his big personality dominating, and he clearly wasn't going to be in the starting 11 as well, Ramos, and it was always going to be Laporte. Which, just on Laporte, I'm quite surprised that there's not been more talk about us trying to sign him, because I quite rate Laporte, and if City wanted to get rid of him, I'd be quite happy to see him come across. But anyway, that's never going to happen. But Ramos was never going to be in the starting 11.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, listen, we've spoken a lot about Spain, so I think we need to talk about Italy as well, because they're not even quietly going about the business anymore. They're sort of loud and proud, aren't they, in how well they've been doing. So, Stu, what are you expecting from them, and sort of how are you expecting them to set up against a Spain team who are averaging a goal conceded every game as well? So they'll be licking their lips, won't they?
Yeah, I think so. I'm expecting a world-class display of shithousery from Italy tonight. I think they may get a goal, an early goal, potentially the first half. I'm going to stick with it, though. I think it'll go to extra time, as what I said before. But I think you're going to see a high degree of shithousery from them, a lot of game playing. I think they're going to try and disrupt Spain as much as they can. I just think this is a semi-final, and as any footballer will tell you, if you can't take that pitch with a realisation that you can win that game, then you're going to come unstuck. And I think any team that does that tonight, and it could be Italy, because don't forget, we saw France go out the tournament from being potentially too complacent. They didn't learn from when they played Hungary, did they? You know, they were potentially too complacent, the French. And we've seen other teams go out. I felt Belgium missed 2 or 3 gilt-edged opportunities to beat Italy. And I think on a different night, Italy wouldn't be in the semi-final tonight. It will be Belgium. But I think Italy right now have got the bit between the teeth. I think you guys are right. I think Spain have limped their way to the semi-final. I go back to what I said at the beginning. I didn't expect them to get this far, but as I've got them in the sweep, I want them to win tonight anyway. And so I'm hoping that what I'm actually hoping for is we get a good game of football. I thought the Italy-Belgium game was probably the best of the tournament. I really enjoyed it. It was free-flowing, 2 good attacking teams. And it was a question of who took the chances and who didn't. And obviously Italy did. I think if Verratti's on his game tonight, I think if Immobile, plays well, I think it could be a difficult night for Spain. But I do think Spain will dig really, really deep and try and nullify, Italy's threat. But I think you're going to see an absolute world-class display of shithousery from Italy tonight, and I think they'll go through after extra time.
It's a good shout. Well, Neil, obviously you've been impressed with Italy for the entire tournament now, even before it. So the thing I've been most impressed with them so far is that cohesion in the midfield, and I think that's where Spain are sort of thriving as well. They've got the mixture of youth and quality in Busquets and Pedri in there. But I say Italy's has been a different level. So you're expecting that to be an important battle in deciding who comes out victorious in this game?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I also think an area where Italy and completely dominate Spain is Spain's attack is, well, toothless at best. Yeah. Italy's defence just looks, I mean, I don't think Donnarumma's conceded 2 goals in any game for something. It's like a ridiculous amount of time. I think they've only conceded 1 in 11 or something. It's crazy, some of the figures. And I just don't see where Spain are going to get any change out of Italy in terms of, I think Italy's midfield will be more dominant. I think they'll get around Busquets. I don't think he'll be given any sort of time. I agree with Stuart. there could be a level of shithousery, especially if Italy go in front. I think Italy go in front. I think this is game over, and that they could win 2 or 3, because I just don't see where Spain are going to create against this Italian side. This Italian side looks really, really good, and I think it surprised quite a few people, but I don't think it surprised many people outside of Italy. You've got 2 of the best centre halves who've ever played the game at this sort of level, masses of experience, and a really, really hungry side. And when they lose the ball, they go and get it back really, really quick and very high up the pitch.
Yeah, they're definitely impressive. But we'll round it off with you, Henry. Sort of for both teams, then, where do you think the game can be won and lost? What do you see as each team's strength and weakness?
Spain are weak. Simple as that. In my opinion, Spain are just weak. I'd rather they went through, because if we beat Denmark, we've got such a better chance of beating Spain and Italy. So, yeah, Spain haven't impressed me whatsoever. They've kind of scraped through. I know they got through Croatia in extra time, and everyone's saying how fantastic they were. Croatia have been a bit crap, really, haven't they? Let's be really honest here. They've been a bit crap. So, and they've been like it for a couple of years now. Ever since the World Cup, they've kind of fallen apart. They drew against Armenia before the tournament. It's like, how's it on there? So I'm not impressed with Spain whatsoever. Italy will just do what they normally do, and they'll round that Spain defence, because they'll try and knock the ball around. You can see the team are making a silly mistake again. You put pressure on young players like that from old experienced heads, and you've got a real problem, because he's shown that he's vulnerable already in this tournament, and that he's liable to for a mistake. So they'll be hounding him and pressing him. And Italy, the one thing that I like about them is they make 5 substitutions pretty much every game, but when they make those substitutions, they bring on more energy every single time. They don't go for the necessarily the slow players. They go for the energetic ones that are going to keep the tempo at the same pace for the whole 90 minutes. They don't try and slow the game down. They want to make sure that you feel kind of you're suffocated on that pitch. So yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. And lastly, I just want to say my prayers to Ciro Immobile for he almost died by the looks of it on that pitch when he somehow magically recovered and got up and celebrated the goal. So I like Italy as a side. Do I think they're pricks? Absolutely. Yes, they are pricks. They shithouse their way through games, but that's football nowadays.
Just a quick question for the panel then. So some of the real top players this tournament. I think Spinazzola's been one, hasn't he? Now he's obviously a miss tonight. I'm just wondering how much that might affect Italy, because he was massive for them in the group stages and the quarters.
So I think it'll be interesting, because in the group stage, obviously when Mancini was rotating the team a lot, getting everyone to play, he brought Emerson in, didn't he, from Chelsea? Yeah. Obviously, I can't remember who they were playing, but it definitely wasn't the level of Spain, the opposition. But I thought Emerson had a really good game. But he fit in sort of like for like. He's an attacking forward back. He's not that great at defending. So, obviously, the quality was completely different. It remains to be seen how well he'll play. But I don't think it'll be too much of a miss. I think Emerson can still put in a similar sort of shift. Don't know about anyone else.
I think they'll switch it. I think they'll go more down the right this time. Because you look at Spain's right hand side, and at the moment it's looking like it's probably going to be Ferran Torres on that right hand side. He's more of a threat than Sarabia. Sarabia if he's playing, he's crap. I'm sorry, he's just not good enough. PSG want to offload him, so I think they might just. I think they might attack down the other side and switch.
I don't think they'll play Sarabia. I'm just having a look at the potential lineups here. They are bringing Emerson in, as you correctly said. And it looks the same, really. It looks like Barella, Jorginho. That's if it's the right one. But it looks like let's have a look. They're bringing Koke in. Looks like the Spaniards are bringing in Koke.
Not much.
To play alongside Busquets and Pedri.
Nah,
then you'll play with Olmo, won't you? Morata and Gerald Moreno. That looks like that's what they're going to do.
Get dominated. That midfield is going to get dominated. That Spanish midfield, if they're not careful. And Italy, if I were Italy, I know this might sound controversial. I might even switch it up. And I thought Locatelli was fantastic when he played, and I thought I thought he gave him a completely different dimension in that midfield, and they had a lot more. I think they had a lot more control when he played over the game and where they were going.
If I was playing, I'd target Jorginho. He would be the one that I'd go after.
I think he's so good under pressure. I really do. I think he's underrated.
Jorginho's been brilliant. I think he's been better than Verratti. I do this tournament. He's the one I would target and go after. He's the one that I would try and nullify, because I think you're absolutely right, Henry. I think he's the one that makes them tick more than Verratti. I've never been a fan of Barella. I don't know what you think.
I love him.
Fan of Barella. Some people do. I think he's one of those. He's a Marmite type of player. He's not one for me, really.
I just think that with this Italy side, the reason why they're so loved by their own supporters is because every single one of those puts in 120% every single game. From the national anthem, singing a national anthem, you see them and you think, if you're watching that as an opposition side, you must think, holy crap, I don't want to face up against that. They are terrifying singing a national anthem. So what are they like on the pitch? So, yeah.
This is where old school football comes in, though, doesn't it, Neil? As far as I'd be concerned. I mean, back in our day, if they were given 120%, you'd put a couple of reducers in there, wouldn't you? And see if they could stand up to that.
Yes, stick one on them, see what happens.
Yeah. And sometimes it's the only way to. I know it doesn't sound right. It's the only way to win a game of football sometimes, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway.
This is going to be a game of who's smarter out of the two managers, I think. Who's got the tactical nous, not at the start of the game, not the lineups, but come 70 minutes into the game. Then you'll find out who's really got it and who really knows what they're doing.
Isn't the interesting thing, though, that haven't Spain outscored Italy?
Yeah, I think so. Well, they scored.
They're 12. Spain have scored 12, Italy have scored 11.
Yeah. Amazing, isn't it? Who'd have thought the Spanish? No.
But
I know.
It's unconvincing and then really convincing. I mean, even their second side, Italy, their second team, they were subbing their keeper off with 18 minutes gone because there was like, it's obviously down to squad kind of like the cohesion and keeping them all playing, whatever. I get that, but the nerve and the bollocks to do that's beyond me. I rarely ever see that in games, ever, especially competitive games at a tournament. It's like that these guys are the ones to worry about if we're planning on winning this thing. But both beatable.
Yeah, we got to get there first, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll come to you, Neil, because obviously, you've backed Italy and England to get to the final. I think they're your two favourites. So, if your prediction comes off, obviously we're talking about how good Italy's midfield is. Is that an area that you think England could really struggle with, or have you been impressed with England enough to think that they could perhaps match Italy in that sort of area?
No, I'm fully behind England to win it. I mean, I've backed Italy to get to the final, but I think we're the best side of the four left. I think we're the best side. I'm not sure we've got the street smarts that say like the Italian side have probably got, but they seem to be born with that. But I'd be confident that we could impose our game on them. I'm very confident that England can win this. I mean, I think there'll come a point where Denmark might just run out of emotionally it's been such a difficult time for the Danish side. I think the fans will play a big part in getting England to the final. And if it is as I predict, it will be Italy. I'm not worried about us against Italy. Maybe a little bit of inexperience from our midfield. I mean, Phillips, potentially the Italians, you could see them targeting him. Both him and Rice are liable to pick up bookings and therefore second yellows. But I'm supremely confident in this England side.
Yeah, that's what we like to hear. Well, Stu, Henry, I'll open this up to you too. Of both the teams, should England get there, obviously it's not a foregone conclusion at all, but of both of the teams, what are the areas that you think England will probably struggle to cope with the most?
I would worry about their front three. I quite like Immobile. I think his movement's pretty good, and we can be a little bit static on occasions. I know John Stones has had a really good tournament, and Maguire's been solid since he's been back. And obviously we've got the best left back in world football at the minute in Luke Shaw. I just think their front three and their movement and their ability to score all types of goals might be an issue to us, because we're not really experienced attackers that can score a variety of different goals, and Italy have proven that they can. And I think that's probably the area I would worry about. And Southgate would probably have to look at the game and make a decision what's his best formation for that one. I tend to agree with Neil, actually. I think if we go up against Italy, I think they'll just have a little bit too much street smarts for Rice and Phillips. I think we're just a bit too inexperienced in that sector of the pitch. And up front, can we? Who the hell's discount Steve Howson? Up front, can we score the goals? I know Harry Kane at the moment is on a bit of a roll, but we have struggled to score goals apart from against Ukraine. But to be brutally honest, and I think if we're all honest as football fans, Ukraine were absolutely dead on their feet. They got nothing left for Ukraine. And I think that probably flattered the scoreline just a little bit. So I would be worried about their front three and their midfield. So, yeah, I tend to agree with Neil.
Yeah.
I never agree with you, Neil, as you know, but I will do on this occasion. Only kidding.
Henry, we've had Italy's midfield and we've had Italy's attack. So talk to me about Italy's defence. How do England get through that? Because it's been looking very, very solid this tournament.
I don't think Italy have come up against really nimble, quick players in that kind of front line for other sides. You look at Lukaku and De Bruyne and Doku. I mean, Doku caused the most problems in that game, I think. And if we're looking to exploit that side, I think personally, you stick Grealish and Sancho and Sterling in that three behind Kane, because they're not quick. Those centre-backs, they're not quick at all. They're missing their main left-back, and they will be, obviously he's not going to suddenly recover from an injury that will take 7 or 8 months to. So it could cause them some serious problems if we play the right side. I've been really impressed with Sterling, and he's creating a lot, but he's quick and he's nimble as well, and he can get past the man, which is key. So if you get one-on-one, one of Grealish, Sterling, I think, or Sancho, one-on-one with the centre-back in the box, they're going to struggle. I really think that. And, we've got to have a mobile side, because matching them for energy is the bare minimum in a game like that.
Quick question for you, Henry, from Joe. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, God.
I was never Jose in, man. Come on, you know that. I was never Jose back in. Jesus. No,
who's this Joe fella?
Yeah,
I remember him from the past.
He kind of disappeared somewhere. I don't know where he went.
Yeah,
but
don't know.
No, I'm. My mindset with managers is I was never Jose back in. I just said he did a pretty good job in terms of the crap side that he had. And winning trophies, I thought he did well. And in terms of Ollie out, well, people keep pushing it over to the next season, saying he's got to win a trophy this season. He's got to win a trophy this season. It's been said for the last, ever since he's joined. He's got to win trophies sooner rather than later. This year, for me, is his final year. Simple as that. If by Christmas we're not in a title race, if we get Varane and Camavinga, if we're not in a title race by come Christmas, and we're struggling in other competitions, he'll be gone. So my mindset hasn't changed on that.
Fair enough. Well, listen, I'd love to sit and talk England, because I think we're all excited about that, but we will have to leave that for tomorrow's episode. I think we don't want to intrude on those tomorrow, so we'll leave it at that. I'll get a quick score prediction from each of you. So final score and first goal score, I'll come to you first for tonight.
I'm going extra time. I think Immobile will score for Italy first. I'm going to back Morata to pop one in. I think he's on a roll now. But I think Chiellini will steal it the back stick second half of extra time. 2-1 Italy.
Fair enough. Neil?
Jorginho to score first, Italy to win 2-0. And I think it'll be a penalty he'll score.
Yeah, he always does, doesn't he?
It's a good shout. Henry, clean sweep for Italy, you thinking?
You know what? I'm going to go for Emerson to score first. I think with that one with the left foot, I think bombing forward, I think could cause problems. I think 3-1. I think it'll be 1-1 at half time, and I think Italy will run away with it. So,
yeah, I've got to agree. I don't think it'll be as sort of open as a 3-1. I think it'll be a tight affair because it's a semi-final. But I'll go 2-0 Italy. But I think the goals will come late. I'll go Insigne to score first as well. So on the panel, we've had a clean sweep of Italy to go through. Let us know who you think will go through in the comments below. Thank you to all three of you guys for joining me. It's been a brilliant show. You should check them out on Twitter as well. The handles are in their names at the bottom.
As we're not on tomorrow, should we do our score predictions for England or not?
Yeah. Let's do score predictions for England as well. Go ahead, Stu.
I haven't got a clue.
3-0.
Actually, I think it'll be a really. I'd love Neil's. I think it's going to be a real tight one. Actually, I think we might scrape it 1-0.
Be like a Premier League game, and we'll win 3-0.
James, you know my mindset in these games. You know from a year of doing podcasts before. You know what I'm like. I don't predict. When it comes to England and United, I just don't predict. I just don't do it.
Getting blood from a stone is getting a prediction from Henry. It's not enjoyable at all. So Henry predicts a 5-0 win for England. That's on record.
Right. Okay.
I'll go 2-1.
Whatever.
I'll go 2-1 England. I think Denmark have got more than enough quality to match us. I think it's like we've said so many times for United this season. I think it's going to be a game decided by moments. I think that on current form, they're pretty evenly matched teams, especially with the nerves of a semi-final kicking in. But I'll go 2-1. I'll back Kane to keep his form going and him to score first. So unless anyone's got anything else to add, we'll end it there. We're all good.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, tune in tomorrow where we'll have all the coverage of the build-up to the England game. Nerves started kicking for everyone now, I think. But yeah, give us your predictions in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe if you have enjoyed. And make sure you tune in to Benny's show tomorrow. But until next time, we'll see you later.